This table, how would you respond to the pastor?
I think I'd ask him, has he considered all of his options? What are your, have you considered all of your options?
Okay, man, nice. How would he respond to this tape as a pastor?
I don't know if I would necessarily pray, but I would ask them, have you sought God out about this?
Okay, sought God out about it, okay. I asked him, I said, well, you talk to your wife? Now, when you get home.
Yeah, that was what your daughter said.
Your daughter said it just like that.
Well, she the one told our foster children when she was young, when they would say, where's your daddy? And I was out working all the time. She told our foster children, my daddy works, and the Bible says, if you don't work, you don't eat. But now I would really say, where does that line up with the word? For you just to quit working. Man who doesn't provide for his own worth of infidel. I'll probably give him some scripture. What are you thinking?
See?
That's the pastor, huh? And being married, and will go home to his wife and say, I just quit my job because I got mad. I said, bro, you walking in from the frying pan into the fire. He would know a few things. Okay, that's the pastor. Now we're going to take that hat off. How do you respond as a coach? Okay.
As a coach, he wants to, it talked about he wants to quit, so I would ask him at this point, so what other options have you evaluated?
That's a good question. Well, they are. That was good.
And Daryl had concept.
You have it now, bro.
Like I do.
ADD just kicked in. And it's along the same line, just, want to know what his next steps are, basically, at that level.
Renee?
Or, okay, he's frustrated, so, okay, what can you see yourself doing? What do you like to do?
Okay.
So.
All of the, you ask a question, you're not looking at them weird. Okay, yes, John.
I have to do another one of my Pastor Armstrong's. Have you
scared.
counted the cost?
I'll say that. Have you come to call? Yes.
I would just ask him first off, what happened? I think we have to start there.
Okay, what happened? That's a good question. Do I have another hand at this table before I move on? Okay, Janelle?
One of the things I said I would ask would be, what's something that would need to change in your workplace that would make you want to stay, and then how can you go about making that happen to make that environment change if that's what's
Okay,
going on?
go over your first question then. You said what that first one? What could the company do to make you want to stay?
No, what would need to happen in order for you to want to stay? So what would your perfect work environment be where you're at right now?
Okay. Abra? I'm picking on that. I may come back to Janelle. I don't want her to think I'm picking on her.
I got the phone call.
Ask what are the pros and cons of leaving, and what are the pros and cons of staying, just to help him to really think it through.
That's good.
On all
Pros and
sides.
cons. Okay. Donna?
There was something that came up. What happens if you personally have dealt with that issue, and you have all kind of emotional reactions because you're personally dealing with that, relative, your relative. And so we talked about how important it is to try to take your own emotional stuff off the table and not have that influence how you coach, which is not easy to do if you're in the middle of dealing with the same situation that your coachee brings to the table.
That's very important. And you're going to find out some things you're coaching a client about can sometimes trigger something in you. And that's why the whole idea is to be prayerful.
And if you get too involved there, maybe
You need another client. That client may not be a fit, and especially if it stirs you up the wrong way, to where you're into your telling mode. It may not be a client for you. Yes.
So we were talking about de-escalating the situation, and I was just, it's like, okay, so we know what your head is telling you, wanna hear what your heart is saying. We know what your ego is telling you, what's your heart saying?
I like the part about what the heart is saying. Don't you just I'm concerned about the ego, because I just made that might be a judgment call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I like the part, what is your heart saying to you about it? And I only asked a question, the only one I had a question about was Janelle. You know, and but it was all right, it's okay. It's okay. Yes, sir.
Almost kind of piggyback what Janelle was saying. I can kind of see where she may have been going, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like assessing the person, okay, are you in your place? Because, you know, you might be frustrated about some things, but might not be what you're supposed to be doing anyway. This might not be where you're supposed to be in the first place. So and try to find out some of the things that they enjoy doing.
And I think that's the biggest thing I want you to be concerned about is giving advice.
Right.
And that's what I really want you to be concerned about. And I was trying to figure out, was yours an advice giving on the side?
Oh.
I don't think so, but I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm still thinking about it. So that's, you don't want to get caught up with giving advice.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, along with what Janelle was saying, I mean, because sometimes that situation, you know, okay, Mr. Jones, tell me what would need to change on the job in order for you to stay. Well, you know, if he just apologized, then I can just do it. You know, it could be something just as simple as that. So exploring that idea is a good option, because he just want his boss to let him, you know, be upfront and say, yes, I was wrong, I'm sorry, I apologize, and he might be able to move on. But because the guy's not being being accountable for his responsibility, then that makes him, you know, that takes him off. So it could be something as simple as that.
Okay. But his boss may not say it.
Right.
But it's still a good, but I see more now based on what you say.
Just
Yes.
want to bounce off what I was sensing she was saying, and maybe it wasn't, but as a real estate agent, what I've done, what I do actually now, is every time I go into someone's home and they tell me that they want to put their house on the market, or they want to purchase a home, whatever, my first question is okay, in a perfect world, these are my exact words, in a perfect world, what would you like? And then they give me that whole list. Well, we want a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 2-car garage, acre for $60,000. So, no, really. And so now, see what that does for me, and I don't react, and I don't judge, but what I've just done is I pulled out everything I possibly could to know how they're thinking. And then from there, I never tell them anything like, oh, that's just not gonna happen. Then I say, okay, let's go look and see what we can find. And then when we start looking, they quickly see that that's about $160,000. They're like, oh shoot, honey, I think we're gonna have to raise our price. But they do it. But it allows everything to come out when you say, what would you like to have happen in your job? Not that you're saying that's gonna happen, but maybe you can get everything out that he's seeing and feeling and thinking, and then you can start asking questions.
Okay, y'all made me feel good about you now. She's on. Maria, and then after Maria, then you roll in, and that'd be like.
I'll say with the person being so sensitive, it's just validating their emotions at first as well, what they're experiencing and what they're going through. Because through doing that, they may start to expand on the frustration and where it's coming from. It might even be something outside of work, and it may be other areas where they start to even just bring that fuller picture and actually feel like, okay, you're listening, you care, you're asking me, you're saying, you know, it's really also going into those emotions.
And I picked up just from reading it myself, the person's probably intense, mad, they don't have a lot of emotions. You gotta be mindful of that.
And I was gonna say, after all that we said, remember we've also talked about that this may not be a coaching question, or it may not be a coaching issue, it may be a counseling issue.
Right. Yeah, because he upset all across the
And
board.
so, because of the pattern, so you're looking at everything, and he shared the pattern. So in
know there's a pattern, and you know, okay, then that may be out of the scope of coaching, and now that needs to go
To Donna.
as a referral.
If you pick up on the word frustration,
Yeah.
and see the pattern of frustration on several jobs and leaving church and all of those
Right,
things, then that would be that's not a bad idea to focus there.
Right.
Because if you focus on the frustration, then that would, you might find out there might be some anger issues or some authority issues, or you might be able to really find out what the real reason why he's having trouble with the job, and that will tell you whether or not counseling or some other issue.
Okay, well, since y'all copped out with a counseling, I'm gonna give you another one. We got another one. Okay. Oh, there's some things about giving responsibility. The biggest thing I want you to gather from this is that you're not responsible for the client's outcome. No matter what, you're not responsible. Now, in giving responsibility to the client, it's on page 69, but this is what I want you to do with one another, other than the pay part. The client makes the phone call. As a response. They don't make the phone call, they're not interested. Okay? The client sets the agenda. Normally when you talk to a client, they set the agenda. Once we get going, they set the agenda on what they would like to discuss. The client chooses the goals that they wish to accomplish. The client develops the action steps. All the client does. The client is responsible to report on each action step. Once they develop action steps, you want to hold them accountable to those action steps. You know, by asking questions on their action steps. The client who misses an appointment pays for it anyway. And the last one, the coach does not tell the client what to do. That's all about giving responsibility. And when you're being the client with your partner, okay, make sure you're carrying out your responsibility for that. The next one, let's go to scenario 2. Build people, don't solve problems. Okay? Now, I'm going to read the scenario. Okay. Here it says, part of the coaching approach is a future orientation. What would it take to move into a great long-term future versus fixing current problems? Here's the scenario. You are coaching a young Christian who is experiencing financial difficulty. He never learned to manage his money, and over the last few years had run up $18,000 in credit card debt against an annual salary of $28,000. When you asked him to develop a plan to pay off his bill, what he came up with was to invest in one lottery ticket a day.
Oh, Jesus.
Did you get it on camera? Did you get it on camera? What you asked him to do was, when you asked him to develop a plan to pay off his bills, what he came up with was to invest in one lottery ticket a day for the next 2 weeks to give God a chance to provide for him. So,
Can you read the first part real quick?
I'm going to read it again.
Okay.
Now I'm going to go over the questions. What would it look like to focus on building a person and not fixing the problem in this situation? You have 2 options. Do I build a person? Do I fix the problem? Which objective is most important? The client learning to hear from God or not buying a lottery ticket? And if he's really excited about this ideal, what do you think about letting him follow his plan instead of trying to correct him? I'm going to read it again.
As long as he can pay your coaching bill.
Here we go. You are coaching a young Christian who is experiencing financial difficulty. He never learned to manage his money, and over the last few years has run up $18,000 in credit card debt against an annual salary of $28,000. When you asked him to develop a plan to pay off his bills, what he came up with was to invest in one lottery ticket a day for the next 2 weeks to give God a chance to provide for him. You have those 3 questions. What's the feedback?
So do we build people